Hello again. For the scope of this talk, we will mention problems and their solutions when it comes to editing the same document with multiple users, so multiple views, and they are meant to be kind of independent from each other. But then again, you work on the same document, so you want to be in your own kingdom, working on your document, but at the same time kind of talking to others without talking to them or something like that. It's a bit tricky, but we will find out how to do this. So we build on LibreOffice technology. In desktop LibreOffice, you can have multiple windows for the same document, so that kind of gives you multiple views. But these are not really meant to be visible for separate users. So in the original context, it was fine to share the same language, the same username and other settings like this for the separate for these views. But when we reuse this functionality for the purpose of Collabora Online, then this needs to stop. And like I co-edit a proposal with Shimon, and I get to see his nice Polish style names. Then I get a little bit angry because I know something went wrong, and I actually want to see my nice English UI and no localized strings. And of course, this will not be that encouraging for translations, but at least it should be consistent. And here is basically a selection of problems that we run into in the past half year and the fixes for those. So one thing that happened is that on the right-hand side, you can see one view, and on the left-hand side, you can see another view. You click on a link in the right view, and you still get the pop-up to open that link in the other view, which when you first see it, it's rather scary. And it turns out what happened was that we were dispatching a command to open this link, but it was executed asynchronously. So the view at dispatch time and execution time was different, and we need to make sure that these are matching so that the link is actually opening at the right view. Quite similarly, it turned out it's not just hyperlinks. For example, in the car conditional formatting dialog, you can have this setup that you manage your conditional formattings, but we really don't like this nesting of dialogues, because then you start spinning a main loop inside the main loop, and that's like very complicated and good to avoid. So instead, we dispatch an async command to open the new dialog, which will add the new conditional formatting. And it could happen that you were opening this dialog in one view, but it opened in another view, which suggests that you don't really want to focus on hyperlinks, but on the more broad problem. There is something deeper to be fixed here. And again, the solution is the same. Make sure that when you schedule this command to do something, and when you actually execute it, these views are matching. It was a bit similar with the status bar. It could happen that parts of the status bar was localized and other parts were not, depending on, like, one view was using localized user interface and the other is not. And it's not just a missing translation, like the string was there. It was just a mix-up with the locale of the different views. And it's not just the sidebar. I also fixed the problem around the not just the status bar, it's also it was also affecting the sidebar, where, for example, when you start editing charts, then you could have this setup that you have a localized user interface on the right-hand side, and the localized string is there, but still you got English strings, which is a bit unfortunate. So in summary, asynchronous commands now handled in a way that the dispatch time and the execution time current view is now synchronized. So when you do something, it actually happens to you and not to some other random users. And there were similar problems in the status bar, in the sidebar. These are now fixed. Also, we now have some testing framework in place. You don't really want to test if, let's say, that status bar item is like translated to German, because then the German translation is updated and then the test fails. But we figured out that next to the actual localized string, we can also embed the locale. And the locale is nice because we have all the locales even in a developer build without any localized strings. So we can nicely assert that these dialogues are showing up in the right view. The status bar local is matching our expectations. The sidebar is matching our expectations. So hopefully what you get is now much more consistent and meeting your expectations. Thanks for listening.